Hello friends, and I'm starting a new costume today. So this costume was actually supposed to be for Otakuthon this year, but with everything closed and cancelled, she's for next year instead, which honestly works out because that gives me a lot more time to finish this costume. Now, those of you who know me know I prefer to cosplay the villains. Like, I've cosplayed Kuja, I've cosplayed Zorn, I've been Sephiroth when it comes to Final Fantasy. So yes, this is another Final Fantasy character. But she is very different from the characters I've previously cosplayed. Because I've been Kuja, which I've now done 5 versions of him. 6 if you count my unfinished cloaked anchorite costume. I've been Zorn. I've been Rydia from Final Fantasy IV. A Bomb, a Hume Black Mage from Tactics A2. Sephiroth, Vincent Valentine. Having a brain fart here. Oh, Ultimacia. So, this costume I'm starting is very different from any of those characters. Because, first of all, she's from one of the earliest games. She's from Final Fantasy II. And currently now, she has... Oh, I can't... I'm sorry for all the movement. I'm holding my phone because I don't have my my ring light selfie tripod out here, and I can't be bothered to go get it. And this character is a princess. And if you are aware of my costumes, then you'll know the only princesses I have previously cosplayed are Sleeping Beauty, only because she was a childhood favorite, and a dream costume at that, and Princess Velvet from Odin's Sphere. This princess is very different from what most people consider very princessy, given that she's actually a rebellion leader. So she's kind of got a bit of a Princess Leia thing going on with being a rebellion leader. So there's that. So the character is actually Princess Hilda from Final Fantasy II. I looked up cosplay specifically, trying to find some reference images to get an idea of how other people have made it. There's one problem. These 3 pictures are my friend Liana, who made the costume in 2011. Another Hilda. There's not a lot of cosplays I can really reference for this character. Liana again, but as the Emperor. Most Hilda images are, even though I specified Final Fantasy II, most of the pictures are still Princess Hilda from The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Which is quite frustrating, because that's not the Hilda I want, although she is kind of on my cosplay list, or list of things I want to cosplay. But yeah, and this here, if I can get it to open. No? You don't want to open? Okay. Oh, there we go. This is the artwork by Yoshitaka Amano, who did, if I recall, he did all the character designs for 1 to 6, from what I understand and remember. So currently what I'm trying to understand is how the dress and the sashes and what the hell this is and the cape work. And so far, from what I've been able to understand from this art, the Dawn of Souls art, and actually this one here, if it will open, yes. So the cape connects here to the dress, but it does not connect on the other side. And there's this attachment like here. So I'm trying to understand how that works, and I understand the pauldron shape and the dress shape and how the scarves work. It's just a matter of understanding how the cape connects to the dress and I'm hoping I have enough of the blue Georgette left over from when I made Amano Zorn. So this is my current status of trying to understand the design. So I've got the dress drawn out. In the Amano art, it looks like it's just gathered here and there's beads. But in her Dawn of Souls art, it looks to be a... Oh no, wait, it's in that art, which is a fan art. It looks to be just gathered with beads, and I can't really tell in the Amano art what it's supposed to be. But in her Dawn of Souls image, this looks to be a brooch. So I'm going to make it a brooch and put beads here. And I'm going to do the whole connecting thing with the cape here. But then this comes down really low. So I'm probably going to have to wear my bustier with this. Oh god, I need help getting it being put into that. So that's going to be interesting. And I kind of like what this art does of having it tapered. So I'm probably going to do that, because I don't like what the Dawn of Souls artwork does, where it's a big giant slit like that, and I don't want that. So, and then there's the scarves. I'm going to make the brooch, and I think there's like some kind of feathers on it. And if not, I'm adding feathers. I don't care. So this is just to, this sketch is literally just to help me understand the dress and the cape, a bit of the scarves, and a little bit of the pauldron. The random pauldron. So hopefully this goes well. I'm going to need to buy very little, I think. Like, I know I need to buy a black fringe, because there's black fringe all the way along the bottom of her cape. I have paint I can use to do the design on the dress and on the inside of the cape. I'm using leftover fabrics from previous projects for her dress and her cape, and 1 or 2 of the scarves. I have lots of foam to make the pauldron. I'm also going to be making her headdress out of foam. So that should be fun. And I have foam and warble I can make this out of. I'm probably going to put warble over top of this as well. Beads, because it's Amano. It needs beads. So there's probably going to be beads all over this costume. So that is where I'm currently at. I am sorry for my rambling to start this off with. And I thought it would actually be fun to film some of the progress on making this costume. Especially since Hilda and Final Fantasy II in general, classic Final Fantasies, so everything from like 6 and back, is pretty rare to find cosplayed, except for like the odd exception where you find Terra or Bart's, like really the main characters, and even they are kind of hard to find because most people are cosplaying from 7, 10, 14, and 15, and 13. So finding the ones that I like to do is incredibly difficult, and I always seem to pick the characters nobody wants to do. So there's this progress so far, and I've only been figuring this out for like half an hour or so. So yeah, let's get this started of working on a classic Final Fantasy princess. The first of 2 I will be doing. The second one will be Princess Sarah, who I will also film for. Okay, so I have my muslin here to make a mock-up for the dress. My most concerning thing is the fit and shape through here, so I'm not too concerned about here. It's pretty open to interpretation, but I definitely want to make sure that this is going to fit me right, because I am a fairly busty person. So I have a bustier to wear under this, and I hate wearing the goddamn thing. But I need to make a mock-up with some of the muslin that my mother had ordered. And I'm going to use some of it to at least make sure that through here is going to fit me properly. So fingers crossed that this works well. I'm probably not going to film anything for that part. Partly because that's a lot of taking on and off, and I'd rather not show that much with the bustier. So here's hoping that this goes well. Okay, so I've made my mock-up out of the muslin. I used most of the muslin that I cut out. I cut from my mother's 50 yards. So this ended up not sitting right. So I'm going to, when I make it out of the satin, fold it inward like that. It'll look a lot better on me. So I'm going to cut it out mostly to the shape that I did. I'm just going to, I think I'm just going to trace around this instead of going to the pattern. And I made a note here. I wrote this while I was wearing it, so it's upside down technically. But this is about my waist, between my waist and my hip. So I need to add a couple inches on each side because I found it just a little bit too tight. So I'm probably going to add a little bit through here. I'm going to flare this a little bit more. So I'm quite proud that this worked out better than I expected it to. So satin time. And I'm probably going to do, because I don't want to have this, I'm probably going to see if I can do a, what do you call it, French seam? Or I might see about a different kind of seam. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'll figure it out. So I've done a fair bit of sewing off camera. So I have the start of the dress on. Currently I have to hold it up to get the shape I want for here, but it's going to have fastening to go around the back of my neck. So currently, this is the state the dress is in. I did add some width here, but it's still fairly tight. But I'm going to have the scarves cover like literally all right here. So that's going to cover this line for my bustier. So yes, I used shiny side out, but I actually liked the shiny side better. I didn't have to buy this fabric. I'm really happy I didn't have to buy this fabric. This looks a little changed. There we go. I didn't have to buy the fabric for my dress. This is actually left over from my Sailor Mercury cosplay that I did last year. This was bought for the bows, and quite obviously, I bought way too much. So I've gone ahead and I've sewn the dress together. I have princess seams for down the side. They are the only seams in this dress. There is no zipper or no closures at all. Literally, I can pull the dress over my head, which I am perfectly happy with. That's kind of what I wanted to do anyway, because it's just so open at the top. So I've had this ribbon sitting in my drawer for, I want to say, 2 years, maybe more. So this is actually not meant to be sewn with, but I did it anyway. Oh god, now it doesn't want to go back on the roll. This is actually gift wrap ribbon. Like the fancy stuff where you're paying like, oh, okay, maybe not that expensive. It was $1.25 for 9 feet or 2.7 meters. And it is the holiday time ribbon that you can buy from Walmart around Christmas. So it's got wire in it, which is partly why I say it's gift wrap ribbon, because it's meant to be shaped and make those intricate bows. Well, I don't really do that, and I can't wrap presents worth crap anyway. So because I didn't want to put a facing in this, and I don't really want to put a lining in it either, I decided to get a little extra creative, and I used the ribbon for along here, and it adds a nice little detail, which I quite like. I'm probably going to put something on the inner edge, because the inner edge, I don't know if it's just because it's not meant to be sewn through, it's rubbing against my skin and it's kind of hurting and scratching. So I might put something a little soft there, if I can figure out a proper way to do it without ruining the dress. So the next step is finishing off the bottom hems and the split, because they are still raw edges. And finishing off this ridiculous bit, which I'm probably just going to cut, and then I might just take some of the extra satin I have for this and put it over top so that it'll sit like this when worn. And I'm going to have a string of beads or a ribbon. I'm not quite sure how I want to do that yet. I'll figure it out. But I'm quite happy with the dress overall so far. Once I have the dress all sewn, the next step for the dress is probably going to be painting the triangles onto it. I think they're triangles. So this is going to be interesting. Part of why I put the ribbon there, besides that I thought it would be a nice finish, is that because I'm basing my Princess Hilda cosplay off the artwork by Yoshitaka Amano, then I have a lot of room for artistic interpretation, which is one of the things I absolutely love about Amano art. There's so much room for interpretation. My basic thing is usually just trying to stick as close to the colors as close as possible and try to get the shapes right, because the details you have pretty much free range on because there's not a lot of limitation. The main thing is usually a lot of beads. Lots and lots and lots of beads. Okay, so it's officially the next day of working on this dress for Princess Hilda. I've noticed I've made like a couple small little mistakes, so I'm going to fix those. So last night I got to this point, as I said, where I had this ribbon. So right now I'm just slip stitching this on, so it should sit like that to give more the shape that it has in the original artwork. So I thought I would talk with everybody, because we're still in plague times, which really sucks. I am thankful though that my favorite store is open again, which is Fabricland, for those of you who don't know. I absolutely love going to Fabricland. It is the only store I like shopping at. Some of you are probably going to be surprised by that. Well, I'm not really big on clothes shopping. I don't really like buying the latest gadgets. I don't buy a lot of video games. Like, I have what I consider a decent collection for somebody that doesn't play a lot of games. But I very rarely buy them. And usually when I do buy a game, I usually will buy it like 2 years after it's come out. With the odd exception, like I bought Kingdom Hearts 3 when it came out. I actually had it on pre-order. Devil May Cry 5 I had on pre-order. Medieval I bought the day it came out. And before I have angry male nerds coming after me saying, Did you even ever play the original? No, I did not. Because I didn't have access to play the original as a kid. Because I didn't have a PlayStation. I didn't have any game consoles until I was 19. And it was a Nintendo DS Lite. That's probably going to have people wondering how the hell I am such a fan of Final Fantasy IX or stuff like that. Well, it's called I Had a Boyfriend Who Had These Things. He introduced me to video games. I am still by no means what I consider a gamer. But I guess technically, since I do play games, that I am a gamer. Whether I call myself that or not. And I don't get into the whole console wars crap, because to me, gaming is gaming, whether it's Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, PC, whatever. I don't care. I don't care if you play games on your phone and you say you're a gamer. To me, gaming is gaming. But that's besides the point. How are all of you? I know there's not too many people that actually pay attention to my channel, but I figure, asking these questions is important. Because I know not all of us are mentally fine, or physically, or emotionally, or whatever kind of fine you want to describe. For me, physically, I am fine. I'm still healthy. I am constantly monitoring myself, especially since Sunday when I went to a protest/rally in my local area. So far, all is good. Although in my area, we only have 5 confirmed cases. So it's really not a lot. And that's 5 confirmed cases since the pandemic started. And at least as far as I know, that's how many we have. It's not a very big area either, and most people here don't travel much. Mentally, I'm stressed out the ass because I work in food production. So hours at my job are crazy right now. I don't work with the public, but I do work with some real idiots. I don't work with the public, but I do work with some difficult people. Probably should have actually filmed me actually slip stitching this, but I'm gonna be honest, my slip stitching is not the greatest. I'm not the greatest at hand sewing. But you know what? We improve by doing. It's the only way to really get better is practice. I don't like the saying practice makes perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. I prefer practice makes better. Because really there's no such thing as perfect. So, it's this. And I'm going to be honest, up until recently, like in the last 6 months, I want to say, I never used to use a thimble when hand sewing. But then I started to find, because of the type of things I usually have to hand sew through, I had a lot of damage to my fingers. but my problem was the thimbles I had never fit. Then I watched Bernadette Banner's video regarding thimbles, and she said that there are leather ones that fit pretty much any size, or you can make your own out of leather, and that metal thimbles are actually sized. Well, guess what? All the metal thimbles we have in my house all fit my dad's hands, and they are like this compared to mine. So that tells you, and like my hands are pretty friggin' tiny. Like, if you're Canadian, you're gonna know how big this is. This is a medium-sized cup for an ice cap. I have small hands. For any person. I have very small hands for a person. I have male coworkers, they'll be like, well, explain to me how small your hands are. I put my hand up to theirs and they're like, so yeah, so I've just finished slip stitching this, so that it's going to sit quite different when I actually wear it, but yeah. Excuse me, sun. Skylight with the vent over top of it, because the original screen and cover and thing for this broke. So my boyfriend last summer bought one of those hooded vents and he put that there. I'm rambling. I tend to do that a lot. And since this is now fully set up for sewing, I can work on stuff and I can talk while I film. I don't know why I have my sewing machine on if I can't use it right now. Oh, right. So, I'm currently debating what I want to do for finishing the hems of these splits. Purposefully kept them as splits because I like them better that way. I'm debating if I want to do a high-low hemline, but I kind of like the split better. I'll see, but I need to figure out how I want to finish the hemline. I don't want to do this again because this was actually more frustrating than I'd like to admit to. Just because there's a wire in the friggin' thing, so that's partly why I can make it keep its shape. Oh, which side is gonna have the cape? So, yeah, I'll figure this out. I even cut right to the selvages on some edges, so there's that. But yeah, I'm gonna figure out what I want to finish this off with. She's a rebellion princess, so I got options. And it's Amano art, so... Okay, so I'm quite pleased. I've had this lace for 3.5 years roughly, because I originally wanted to use this on my water spirit costume that I did for the single pattern contest at CostumeCon 35 in 2017. I ended up not liking how the lace looked on the costume in the end, so I ripped it all off. It was originally meant to be on the cuff of the sleeves, but I didn't end up liking how it looked. So I have all of this for it, and it is more than enough to go along the bottom hem, but I need to actually hem the hem and make it nice and clean. So I'm going to trim these flyaways at the end, and then I'm going to press it using my cut up, well, not quite cut up, but my unstitched mock-up to use as a press cloth, because I don't know where my actual press cloth has gone, to protect the satin. And then once this is sewn on, pretty much all of the sewing is done. For the dress, it'll just be the details left, so I'm quite excited to get this done, and Hilda is going a lot faster than I expected her to. Satin is so pretty, but it's so friggin' finicky. I'm probably going to bring a my vacuum out here in a week or so to clean up all of the threads that are everywhere. So what's that? I needed to turn my iron back on. So there's not. Oh, I think that was my iron finally reaching the heat it needs. So I'm going to press them flat, and then I'm going to do a curved over edge, and then possibly, if I can, but I want to press it flat first because I have this edge that's folding over and I don't want it to do it the way that it is. So I'm going to, I don't have my actual ironing board out here because there's no room for it. So I'm going to put my documentary back on. It's about Pompeii. But why are So it is a fair bit later. It's gotten quite warm in the trailer. It's 25 Celsius, which is about almost 80 Fahrenheit for those who follow Fahrenheit. So if you hear my fan, I apologize. It's just too warm for me to tolerate in here. So I just finished with sewing the lace onto the edge of the dress. I quite like how it looks. I acknowledge that it kind of gives it a bit of a night dress feel. It's having the lace and it's shiny satin, but it's going to be much better once it's done, and I have the purple triangles painted on, and the scarves and the cape are done, and everything else is finished. So it'll look much less nightgown. But I'm quite happy with it, and on the inside, I have French seams, which I almost never do. I think I've done them twice before this. So yeah, this might look kind of gaudy to some people to use the shiny side out, but I quite liked the shiny side better than the dull side for this one. It's pretty. I can't wear it with a normal bra. I have to wear my bustier, which is a giant pain in the ass to put on. So the next thing is going to be probably... Oh, I'm probably going to have to put the bustier on to try it on. So I have this jewelry set that my parents bought me a number of years ago. I think it was for Christmas. And I've never worn it. Obviously, it's still in the original cardboard. Or did I buy these myself? I'm not quite sure, but apparently they were $16. So I'm going to take the earrings off of here. I might use the earrings for the costume. We will see. So, before anybody asks regarding this, earlier today, before I started working on Hilda again, I did some filming for my lady cosplay from Devil May Cry 4. She's got a scar across her nose. I probably did it too dark and wrong. So I'm still wearing the makeup for her. And no, I am not naked. I have the dress on, but because I don't trust the clips to hold the bead necklace that I am now currently hand sewing to the top of the dress so that here this will loop around the back of my neck. I'm hand sewing the bead necklace on while I wear the dress because that just seems much easier to me. It probably looks a little crazy, but I'm gonna be honest. It's not the craziest thing I've ever done. It's also not the most awkward way of sewing I've ever done. Anybody that has seen my cosplays of Kuja, more specifically Amano or the Dissidia one, the cod pieces on those, they are padded, they are hand sewn on, and I hand sewed those onto the bottoms while I was wearing them. That's the most awkward thing I've ever sewn. So this is a cakewalk in comparison, since I don't have to contort my body into an awkward position to see what I'm doing. A little awkward on my neck, but that's about the extent of it. But this is the... I want to consider final touch for construction for the dress. It's 99% likely I'm going to do more than just put the lace on, do the painting. I didn't film any of the painting. After I'm done sewing the necklace onto the top of the dress, I'm going to film a little bit of showing the painting. Because I know I took photos, but I didn't take video. Oh well. So I'm going to finish this and then I'll show you the triangles and the lace in the next clip. Okay, so here's the dress. It is now finished. I may add a few more details though because Amano. But, so there is the ribbon trim, the pearl bead necklace is now on. I think this necklace, I'm pretty sure this necklace was one that my parents had bought me for Christmas a few years ago, but it's not really my style, so I never wore it. But it works quite nicely with my Princess Hilda dress. So, there's my triangles. They go all the way down. The front of the dress, I haven't done the back. I'm not sure if I should paint triangles on the back or not. So this is the dress. I have this lovely lace that I've had for a few years, all the way around the bottom edge. I think it goes quite nicely. Yes, this is the selvage here. Don't judge me. I was trying to save fabric. So, I might put a ribbon along the edge to help hide these selvage holes. But overall, the dress is done. except for any additional detailing that I may want to do. I think it looks quite lovely. I would put it on a mannequin, but I don't have space for my mannequin out here yet. But I'm hoping I can do that, hopefully not too far away in the future. So this is now not as pretty on the inside, but that's okay. I'm happy with how this looks. I love this satin. The fact that I bought enough satin for Sailor Mercury's bows to make an entire dress out of, yikes. So yes, this is the dress as of now. So the dress is now complete, and this concludes part 1 of the Princess Hilda making process. Woohoo!